Welcome to the Member Engagement Show, the podcast for association professionals, brought to you by Higher Logic. I'm your host, Kelly Whelan, and in each episode, we'll talk to guests whose expertise will help you gain new members, boost retention, and deepen member involvement, all goals that can transform your organization. I invite you to subscribe to the podcast so you don't miss an episode, and visit us at higherlogic.com/podcasts to catch the best of past episodes. Now, let's start the show.
Hi, everyone. Welcome back to the Member Engagement Show. Today, I'm joined by Karen Saverino, Chief Marketing Officer at Smithbucklin. Karen has over 25 years of experience in marketing and communications, most of it working with nonprofits and associations. She is one of the authors of Smithbucklin's recent report on the perceptions and evolving role of associations. So I'm delighted to have Karen on the show today to share insights from this report and discuss ways associations can apply these insights to attract and retain members. Welcome, Karen. Can you start us off by telling our listeners more about yourself and Smithbucklin?
Yes. Thanks for having me today, Kelly. I really appreciate the opportunity to be here and talk to you and your listeners. Smithbucklin is a professional services firm. We provide management, education, event design and execution, as well as strategic planning for associations. And we've been doing it for 75 years, so we've seen a thing or two. I've been working in the area of professional services most of my career for advertising and PR and marketing agencies, and also more recently for a large technology consulting company. And what I do is I help organizations to tell their story, to raise their visibility, and to let prospective members and customers, as well as existing members and clients, understand the value proposition, what they bring that is unique, that's going to help that organization or person in their life or in their business.
That's awesome. I love having you on the show for that exact reason, because I think there are some associations that have someone on their staff that does that. And then there are others where they need that little extra support or they need someone to help them with the strategy. So I think that's really important. I was really excited to see this report come out because it explores kind of real-time membership needs and the evolving role of associations in this industry that we work in. So I was wondering if you could walk listeners through how Smithbucklin creates this report.
It's interesting. As long as I've been working with associations and nonprofits, which has been for most of my career of about 25 years now, there's always been this dialogue. I call it a false narrative. And fortunately, we validated that it is false. But that's that associations might lack innovation, they might be falling behind the times, and that perhaps the model isn't one that's long-lasting and sustainable. And so we wanted to test some of that. We also truly wanted to understand what members value when it comes to their association membership. What entices them to join? What is it that keeps them on as members once they've joined? We wanted to see if there was differences in terms of demographics, generational differences in making those choices about membership in an association. And we were also really curious about why people might not join an association. We know there's an association for nearly everything. And so why might somebody choose not to become a member? So to do the research, we worked with an outside company called Hanover. And we crafted a survey of over 400 association members. We surveyed both trade and professional societies and nonprofits. So we had a good mix of both types of associations. And we had a second data set of about 1,000 non-members, again, which was really interesting and showed why people might not be joining associations. So they conducted an online survey and compiled the results for us. And then our team in-house studied those results, came together with experts across our company, and we pulled together some findings and recommendations for our clients and all associations.
One of my favorite reports that Higher Logic works on is our member experience report. And similarly, we survey members. And I do enjoy hearing from association professionals, but I love also hearing from those directly from those members. And I find it super fascinating that Smithbucklin also interviewed those non-members, because like you said, we can often have preconceptions about why someone might not be a member or why organizations might not see the growth that they'd like to see. But actually hearing from people who aren't members or decided not to become members, I think gives you that insight that you wouldn't get otherwise.
Right. If you're looking to grow, certainly you want to retain all of your members. You want them to participate as fully as they can to benefit their careers. And certainly that will support your association's strength. And if there are people out there who could be members and just don't know about you, then there's a real opportunity to get more people aware of what you offer and to invite them to join.
Absolutely. Again, like I said, some of this feels a little familiar from the association member experience report, but I think this report from Smithbucklin illuminated some things as well, like that are different from what we have in our own report. So I'd love to see if you can talk a little bit about what members said is most valuable to them from their association and why they join, what keeps them members, that kind of thing.
Sure. I mean, the first interesting finding is really our top finding, which is really validating. And that's that 88% of members have a positive view of their associations. And they also, 81% say that they think that their peers within their industry or profession also have a positive view. And that's important because we want to belong to things that our peers belong to and also value. So there's real strength there. And within that group that is having a positive experience, why are they having a positive experience? We found that members place the highest value on professional development. Over 85% said they're likely to renew their annual membership so that they can take advantage of all the development opportunities. And about 75% said that their association specifically has actively supported them in their personal career growth. So we know that associations are really benefiting members when it comes to their careers. People also have a lot of positive things to say about their associations. A couple of interesting things were that they think that their associations have strong leaders and that they are for people like me and that I can trust my association. So it's one thing to know that they value it. It's another to understand the words that they use, evolving with the times, that they were inclusive and that they positively impact my career, were some other things that came up.
Yeah, I love pairing that kind of quantitative data with qualitative data because, like you said, we have a couple questions that we sometimes ask where we'll ask, oh, do you value personalization? And then actually hearing from the member what that means to them, what they value about that personalization gives you this deeper look into why it's important to them. So I really enjoy reading those more long form answers too, to hear like how association members say like, well, my association makes me feel like this is a place for me. And that trust concept you brought up too reminds me of how I've read a couple articles now, not originally it was just one from I think The Verge, but now I've seen a couple articles talking about in this current era, online communities are drawing a lot more positive feelings because people want that space, that private space to connect with people that they trust and peers in their industry and not just, like a social media platform that's totally open or a Discord or a Reddit type place. Like, yes, people still use those, not to say that they don't, and people use AI and all of that, but that they're also finding value in these trusted spaces where they feel like this organization knows me, my industry, what I need. I am always pleased to have that validated in the data as well and see that that's actually what association members are saying.
Yeah, well, I mean, trust is critical right now. And you do see a lot of stories about how trust is declining. There is a lesser trust among media, politicians, leaders, and we want to trust. We want to trust someone. When we need to know who can we go to for good information that's going to be accurate, and we can use in a way that's going to benefit us professionally and personally. So associations truly are a place where people go for that information. And when it comes to whether it's news or education and learning, you are counting on your association to be bringing you the best of what's available.
Going back to what you were talking about professional development too, I thought it was interesting in the report that especially for early career professionals, that professional development was even more important. Like obviously it's still important throughout people's careers, but I think for a lot of associations that are thinking about, well, how do I bring in the next generation? That note about professional development and looking for those networking opportunities to grow their network, to become better at their jobs, that's like a high value thing to be offering for early career professionals, especially.
Yeah, so 58% said their most valuable benefit is professional development and learning. And that number goes up to 77% when you talk about earlier career professionals. And it makes sense, right? A lot of people who are working today started their careers during the pandemic. They were working fully remote. Now, some organizations have stayed remote first, and others are in a hybrid environment. And you'll see a lot of conversation about lack of mentorship, a lack of opportunities for growth because we're not together as much as we used to be. And companies are, working on that and deliberately focusing on how to help people advance their careers. And associations can fill a niche here, right? This is a place that not only is of interest, members also said they're willing to spend more, right? This is a place that they're willing to make an investment in themselves and pay for additional learning and certification from their associations.
That makes a lot of sense. And I think it's like a natural progression of how associations have always supported their membership. And like it might just be a shift of that area needing additional support now, like you said, in a post-pandemic world where people don't have those opportunities to necessarily go to someone down the hall, like in an office right down the hall and say, hey, can you show me how to do XYZ thing? Or, hey, can we talk through the best way to approach this membership campaign? Even if they do have that team. Like I know I've worked at associations that are really small where there's only like 2 people on the marketing team. So you don't have a big team to talk about these things with, and then being able to log into your association and connect with hundreds of other people who do the job can be really valuable.
That's right. People are looking for connections. They're looking for learning from each other, from mentors, from peer-to-peer mentoring, reverse mentoring. There's so many opportunities that associations can provide. And we do know that, professional learning, education, and certification is of high value. The numbers are interesting on this, Kelly. Members are willing to invest beyond their dues. In fact, 60% are willing to pay for CE credits, 59% for certification designations, and 56% for professional development opportunities. So there is a real interest in building skills. And we've been saying for years now, skills are the new currency. And I'd maintain that they continue to be the new currency. The world is changing so rapidly with technology, AI, geopolitical issues, just the way we work. The pace it's relentless. And so we've got to find new ways of working. We need to build our skills in a way that will allow us to be really effective for our organizations and for ourselves as we continue to advance our careers.
I know we originally were thinking of talking about this later in the episode, but it strikes me that in particular, as associations cope with the changes that AI brings to how people find information. So, for example, our CEO, Rob Wanger, has talked in a couple sessions now about how search traffic is shifting away from your standard, Google search engine and that kind of thing to where people are using chatbots like ChatGPT to ask questions and get direct answers. And that is something that I will say, especially for me as a marketer, you start worrying about that. You start worrying about, well, how do we increase visibility? Like you said at the beginning, Karen. So I think what you just talked about, the association being a place where people can keep up with what's going on and discuss it with their peers and really get that real time, like we're addressing challenges together because no one has the answers yet. I think that is one thing that associations have that AI will never replace. Like maybe people will go ask a chat bot some basic questions now, an AI chat bot, instead of like looking that up from their association. But the thing that they will always need from their association is that real time dealing with things changing. Because like you said, things are changing so rapidly. So having that space of experts who understand the industry is going to be so critical for associations to lean into.
Yeah, I think that online communities play a really critical role in organizations and in associations. Being able to talk to someone who's walked in the shoes that you're walking in and hearing from a person, being able to even connect after that answer is received for offline conversation is of great value. Again, people are looking for connection, and in an increasingly digital world, we can connect more digitally, but there's also a disconnect, a human disconnect. And so using technology to connect to humans is really powerful. I would certainly, personally, talking about trust, I would trust answers from experts on a topic in an organization versus AI.
Yep.
Someone said the other day, the AI that we're using right now is the worst AI we're ever going to see. It's going to keep getting smarter because we're feeding it information, right? It's getting better and better all the time. And it certainly is becoming a place where people are going to search for information. So we will see some traffic moving away from Google and other search engines and people going straight to AI tools like ChatGPT and others. And I think it actually opens up an opportunity for associations and all organizations to be found within those tools, right? So if somebody's searching an AI tool, why wouldn't you want your organization to show up? And you do that by getting back to the basics, like expanding your visibility, making sure you've got good content that's short, Q&A format, bulleted executive summaries that AI can pull in and make available to those who are looking for the information. So while AI is really changing our world and it's changing every day, it is so important to stay on top of it. Our associations can help us do that, but also in our personal lives, really thinking about expanding visibility for our organizations as marketers and making sure that we're putting out the latest information and we'll have a better chance of being found and to be valuable to those who are looking for information.
Speaking of being found, another section of the report that I found really valuable was the exploration of what prevents people from becoming members. And I know one of the insights that I found fascinating was that it was that lack of awareness. So I feel like associations, at least I will say from my experience working at previous associations, we often had an assumption like everybody knows about us. And if they're not a member, it's just because they don't have the budget or something right now. But I saw that the top reason that your respondents who weren't members said that they weren't members is because they were not aware of a organization that would fit their career, which, like you said at the beginning, there's an association for everything. So that can't be true.
Yes, Kelly, that finding really surprised us and is a bit of a wake-up call. The number one reason that people don't join associations is they just do not know about them. Or we found that 22% of people are looking for an association and haven't found one. So not being found is a challenge, and it's one that's fairly easily remedied in terms of how you grow awareness of your organization. And so this is the basics of your marketing and communications and public relations is ensuring that you are creating good content, that you've got your experts out there speaking in the media and at different industry events, and you're got a strong presence on social media. The more you can do to raise your visibility, the more people will be able to find you. You also have the opportunity to cultivate relationships within the industry to help companies and organizations know about your association and perhaps encourage them to either become members if it's a trade association or to invite their people to join so that they can grow professionally in that field or profession.
It's so funny when we talk about that because I feel it is something that is relevant both for associations and like any organization. Like in my own job, I feel like when I work for Higher Logic, visibility is everybody's challenge. It's something that we all try to work to raise the visibility of our organization so that people can find us. I know that at points in my career, sometimes I worked for small enough organizations where we might make an assumption that people would just find us because we were like the only show in town for that particular industry. And that isn't a strategy. Like no strategy is not a strategy. Like not thinking about it at all and assuming, oh, my members or potential members will find me is not how you make sure that potential members find you.
It used to be that brands were beacons. People would find them. There weren't as many competitors in terms of organizations you could join or things that you could buy. And so now
we're just competitors for attention,
Yeah, you really got to stand out, and you need to reach out to your members in a way that makes sense for them.
On that topic too, I know so reports like this are fascinating from a data analysis perspective. Like I've always enjoyed reading them just for what I feel like I learn about them. But I think what helps associations that are really successful, what makes them stand out is how they take data insights from reports like this and actually apply them to their work. So I know we've already started talking about this in a couple of the categories we talked about, but I'd love to dive into some of those 4 fundamentals that this report talks about because I liked how Smithbucklin's report called out specific areas that associations could build on based on what you learned from the data. So could you walk listeners through a few of those things?
Sure. And you're right about the analysis. The data is great, but it's really what do you do with it and how can you take advantage of it? The first of the four is about emphasizing career growth to attract new members. I mean, because we learned in the research that is the most important benefit across all of the demographics surveyed. So thinking about your own members, like this data is great and people can use it and make some assumptions about their own organizations. But even better is to survey your own members and consider asking them about what is the most valuable part of the education and learning and career growth that you can offer. And then you can shape and you can evolve those offerings to continue to stay relevant and of value to your members. And just simply sharing stories. I was looking at an anniversary video for an organization the other day celebrating its 40th year, and they were talking about the impact of their work. Their members were talking about the impact of their work on their career, on growing these incredible networks, on their professional development and how they emerged from being an entry-level marketing person up to the level of CMO. And it was all about the rise of these careers through the lens of being a member of that association. Really powerful to see those stories, hear those stories, and to see yourself and see, I have opportunity. No matter where you are in your career, we always have opportunity to grow in our careers.
So it's testimonials, 100%. I feel like people like hearing from people. So when you are trying to get the word out about your association, making sure that you're leveraging those existing stories of members. And it's like what we talked about earlier about data collection too. Like it's nice having the numbers, but it's also nice just hearing the emotion from a real person of what they feel like they've gained from being part of the association.
That's right. You want to highlight members, again, across generations, because we all benefit from association membership in terms of career development, testimonials, stories, videos, encouraging sharing on social media, but inviting a group of people to help you tell your story through their eyes. People do like to talk about their experiences, and it's great exposure for them as well as professionals. So it's something that every association could be thinking about, and of course, many are. And another area is mentorship. Mentorship it seems to be having a moment. We're hearing a lot about it, possibly in the context of what's going on in our country, and highlighting those opportunities to connect with someone who, again, has walked in your shoes, or perhaps it's someone who is your peer who you can learn from. And now we're also seeing, with the rise of technology, more reverse mentoring. We're seeing earlier career people mentoring later career people on areas like technology. So mentorship is really powerful. People love connecting with individuals one-to-one. It's all about that human relationship. And so that's another area that can be promoted and evolved in your association.
I know I have had multiple points in my career where I've sought mentorship in both directions. And it is that thing where going to an association first makes it so much easier to find someone. You're not just trying to think like, oh, what random other marketing person could I go to? Instead, if your association has a repository of all of these folks that have the experience on one side or the other and have voiced that they are willing to mentor, that just saves a person so much time and is such a high value add.
And there's so much value for the person who's mentoring as well.
Oh, yeah.
Sometimes even more than the mentee.
Yeah.
Yeah. And so another area that we shape some recommendations is about professional development and networking. Again, knowing that these are of high value. It's one thing to just have education. It's another to really create custom educational opportunities. So we've got a multi-generational workforce. We have different needs. So creating different persona-based career development paths and learning paths is a great opportunity. We know that from our survey, people have unique needs. They don't want a one-size-fits-all educational program. And so really tailoring it to your member needs is important. And that's where doing those surveys and really understanding those needs is vital. We're also seeing more opportunities for micro learning. So short courses, bite-sized videos, downloadable audio that people can listen to on the go. This is the way the world is working. And I wonder how many people are listening to this podcast on their commute or on their walk. They're out with the dog. And we need to make it really actionable and available in formats that are shorter, concise, and to the point.
That resonates with me. And particularly, I recall having some folks from Blue Sky eLearn on the podcast, I think at the end of last year. And they were also in their research of like learning and learning trends that people are looking for. They also called out microlearning, called out what you just said, having different formats that people can engage in because people are really busy. And it's like what we were just talking about before, like there's a lot of demands on people's attention. So having options that someone can say, okay, right now I do have time to listen to a podcast that will give me some tips while I'm eating my lunch or on my commute. They might not have time to sit down and watch a webinar, or they might not have time to sit down and watch a 60-minute webinar. They might want 30 minutes. So thinking that through and understanding where your gaps are. I feel like for many years, really liked the concept of learning pathways and felt that that is just such an important, I think it's always been important, but more now than ever, that you have these pathways that you help people understand, like, okay, you just did this course, and that makes us notice that you should probably do this course next. And I think the more that technology improves, and as AI is pulled into technologies like learning management systems or LMSs, you have even more opportunity to do that for your members and give them that guided learning pathway for them to not even have to worry about it. They know their association is going to suggest the next the next thing that they should do after they finish something else. And I feel like now I've triggered a little bit of a tangent, but I think with LMSs too, when you connect it with something like an online community, so for example, in Higher Logic, we have a Blue Sky eLearn powered LMS that connects with the online community, then you can have stuff trigger for people in their feed. So when they're in there networking, then they might get a course pop up in their feed that says, hey, we noticed this course is a really good fit for you based on some things you've done in the past. Would you like to set aside time to do this? And I think that can be really valuable. And the LMS learns from what people are doing in the community. So if someone is joining certain communities or participating in certain threads, then you have more information about what is valuable to that individual that you can act on as the association to say, hey, we saw that you joined this chat about XYZ topic. We've got a course on that topic if you want to watch it.
Using technology to create really personal opportunities is key. I mean, this is how we are guided toward making decisions as consumers, right? Whether it's watching something that's recommended on Netflix or buying something on Amazon because they saw that we looked at something else and this is also a popular item. It's becoming more and more common for us to see those kinds of recommendations. Now, we know that technology is behind there making those recommendations, but we also trust that based on the data that we're putting in or our purchasing or buying or habits is getting us to the next recommendation of what would be valuable for us. And when it comes to learning, we might understand, I really need to build my AI skills, but what does that mean? Where do I start? Where do I go next? And then based on my role, what is most important for me to be able to learn and bring to my organization? So I think those customizations, those prompts are a great opportunity to help direct people to what's really going to help them.
And that just goes so far because then again, it reiterates the feeling that your respondents shared of, hey, this association knows who I am and what I need. Every time you take the effort to personalize or automate a recommendation, you're reiterating to the people that your members, you're reiterating to them, we do know you and we're here to help you with exactly what you need. But technology is behind that, which I think was another within the 4 fundamental call out areas from the report. I loved that leveraging technology was part of that. So I wonder, you've already started talking about it, but I wonder if you could talk a little bit about that as well.
Yeah, I think with technology as it relates to reaching members, it really is understanding your member needs and understanding it from those personas and those demographics that we talked about. To really understand, is it really mobile first? Everybody wants to have an app, and that might be right for some associations, but it might not be right for others. And so it's about using the technology that really works for your members, and also the technology that works for the members that might not currently be members but would join you. So using your digital analytics, understanding everything that's going on with your website, your content. Data is really vital. I just spoke on data recently. It was making data-driven decisions for women. And, we have this data, and what we often don't do is take the time to analyze it and really apply it and bring our teams together to talk about it and learn from it. But the recommendation would be, when it comes to technology, there are so many options out there. Really looking at what's right for your community is most important. But we do know that there are some things. We know that people want technology. There isn't an association that doesn't need to think about its online presence. Likely its social media presence and building conversations, positioning associations as experts, putting out content. And technology enables us to do this in a really quick, effective way, and also measure how that's being consumed by members and prospective members. So technology is key. And then online communities. We have many online communities in our organization at Smithbucklin, and client organizations have online communities. And we know that it is a place to go for the quickest way to get information from someone who, again, has walked in your shoes, who has the experience that you're looking for. Sharing ideas, getting insights is really key. And again, this is similar to our offline, right? We are in communities through social media, Reddit communities, or there's I don't know how many, tens of thousands of them. Whether you trust that information or not, people still go there looking for ideas and insights. So we know that communities are really important. As humans, we want to be around other people who have similar experiences and different experiences, who can help us to expand our viewpoint and the horizon related to a particular issue.
And I liked, too, in the report, I feel like it called out something about where you pair together that professional development with networking in a way that really improves both. That having an online community potentially as this networking space for people, in addition to the educational options, can really help people digest the information, discuss the information, learn more from it. And that, I feel like, resonates with my own experience and the data that we have looked into with Higher Logic. We have a association online community benchmark report, and we usually see that when organizations pull any other initiatives that they do into their online community, that those initiatives are boosted by being incorporated into the community, and vice versa, that the community is boosted, like more people use the community because organizations will pull in like their advocacy program, their mentorship, their online learning, or anything, essentially anything that an organization is doing can benefit from community and vice versa, because it's tying in the like group working towards this thing that you're working on. So I found it really interesting that the data in your report also came across that.
Yeah, you've got to meet people where they are, right? We know, and we have another piece of research that'll be coming out soon enough on events. And we do know that there's tremendous value in people coming together for meetings and events, annual conferences, and that there's tremendous networking happening at those venues. And we also know that online communities present an opportunity to fill in the gaps when you're not having those in-person gatherings. But you could do a video-based webinar where you've got an expert talking about a topic, and then members are doing a Q&A. You could certainly get up and do a storytelling showcase. You could share practices within a particular industry. They could be broken down into personas. They could be, early career, mid-career, late career, or you could do cross-pollination of that. So there's endless opportunities to bring people together through your online platforms. So if you're just using it as a chat board, that's a missed opportunity, right? It's great to have that. And we want to find ways to facilitate that human connection.
I think we've talked about it a couple times throughout our conversation, but the fourth fundamental area was around understanding what members value. And I think that goes to a lot of what you've already said about doing your research into what matters to members, whether that be through reviewing insights like this report and doing your own research to go deeper into what your specific members want.
Probably the most important investment that you could make is understanding what your members think, how they feel, their experiences that they're having with your association, right? Creating that great member experience where a member wants to stay a member for their entire career and beyond is where you want to be. And we've got to talk to members. We have, again, technology allows facilitation of this in a much more rapid way. But after each event, we want to survey people. After each online community, we want to get feedback, both quantitative and qualitative. There are opportunities to bring people together to do focus groups. Those could be online. Those could be held in conjunction with an in-person event. But hearing directly that voice of the customer is really critical. And in this case, the customers are members. So hearing that information, then taking that information and then applying that to the experience, your offerings, and your communications and outreach is going to help any organization to become more relevant and meaningful to its membership base. You could also do interviews, and certainly, again, I mentioned this earlier. This is the research we did that we were interested in gaining. But what is it that your organization needs to know about its members in order to bring them the value that they're looking for? Every organization should know that, and it's not that hard to get.
Yeah, excellent. Well, we've, of course, covered a lot of ground today. And before we wrap up, I did want to ask if there are any other topics that are really top of mind for you that associations should be thinking about as they work to keep up with modern member expectations.
I think the one thing that's on the minds of most of us today is what's going on in the world, and specifically in the U.S. We're seeing reductions in force and concerns about job loss, and this is a really difficult time for many professionals. And this is an opportunity for associations to really be there for people when they need the support most. So having things like job boards is like the starting point, but that mentoring, those forums coming together to talk about trends in the industry, to help people identify micro-learning or micro-credentialing. Maybe you don't have time now to get an advanced degree, but you could get a certification to help you to get to your next position. So as we see people experiencing more job loss and the fear of job loss, having that connection to community is so important, whether it's your personal community or your professional community. There are indicators that this is a way to really thrive through this time and not only find a new role, but to find something that's really more meaningful to you personally.
And I think associations being there for their members during a difficult time is going to create a loyal for life member. Like, they're going to remember, hey, this association, they're not just trying to get my money for webinars. They were genuinely there for me at a time when I was struggling within my career, and I was able to seek support through this association. And now I'm always going to come back to them, basically.
And you'll want to do the same, right? When you're in a position to help someone who's looking or worried about a job loss, you might then be in the position to help someone else. And so it is paying it forward and paying it backward at the same time.
Well, Karen, thank you so much for coming on the show. I feel like, again, we covered so much ground, and this report is full of information. We only touched the surface of it. So for our listeners, we will direct you to the report via a link in the show notes so that you can find that report easily. And I will also, I believe I mentioned our episode on learning management systems. So I will also link to that episode in the show notes just in case anybody's looking for it. So thank you again, Karen.
Thank you, Kelly.